back on the record. The time is 2:09 p.m. This is the beginning of media unit 4.
So it's my understanding that Mr. Furman sent you an email denying the decision to reassign Kuether was made with an impunitive intent. Do you recall that?
I had posed to Mr. Furman, actually I had asked that he memorialize a conversation that we had had,
Mm-hmm.
and in that memorialization he basically said that he was told by Dr. Posley to what was the word here? Can I go back to the question?
So it's my understanding that Mr. Furman sent you an email denying the decision to reassign Kuether was made with punitive intent. Do you recall that?
I don't recall him denying punitive intent. I'm sorry, I don't recall.
Great. So I asked Mr. Furman under oath the following question. Why do you deny the decision to reassign Kuether was made with punitive intent? And he answered, I am sure this was referencing that it was not meant to be an adverse employment decision, that Dr. Posley was concerned with the work that the department and probably felt like Ms. Kuether needed to just work elsewhere since it apparently wasn't working out in that department, but it wasn't meant to demote her or berate her or anything of that nature. Is that a true statement?
Objective form, foundation.
Mr. Furman communicated to me in writing, in response to my question to him about the nature of the reassignment, that it was that reassignment would allow Dr. Kuether to reset.
Okay, and that's what he told you that Dr. Posley told him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and he also said that Dr. Kuether's behavior was causing the curriculum and instruction department to be ineffective. Is that a true allegation that he made?
Yes.
Okay. Based on your investigation of the facts, do you believe those allegations to be accurate?
Objective form.
I did not investigate whether or not Dr. Kuether had engaged in any inappropriate behavior in the area.
Okay. Well, did you investigate the curriculum and instruction? Let's say did you have understanding that there was an issue with a curriculum product that needed to be in place but was not in place and was going to make the MPS out of compliance with the state standards?
Objective form of question vague, ambiguous.
I don't know if I knew that detail, but what was shared with me was that there was a technology issue that was forecasted, and Dr. Kuether was raising attention to it in an attempt to get in front of that problem.
Okay. And did she explain to you whether or not she had raised that issue before?
I believe she shared with me that she had raised that concern previously.
And was that concern raised to Dr. Holliday or somebody else?
I don't recall.
Okay. About how long had she previously raised that concern?
I don't recall that.
Okay. So, based on your, well, let me put it this, was there an issue raised with the Thursday folder, to your knowledge, with Dr. Saffold?
Yes, Dr. Kuether shared that with me.
What was the nature of that issue?
My recollection is that there were errors involved in it.
Okay, and who created those errors?
I don't recall.
Okay. I asked Mr. Furman under oath if he believed that the involuntary transfer would have affected Dr. Kuether's career prospects going forward. Do you believe that her involuntary transfer would have affected her career prospects going forward?
Yes.
Why?
I think that when individuals are told on one day to clean out their office the next and to report out to a school, that knowledge tends to follow that individual, and that can, I think, taint that individual in the organization.
Is that a form of retaliation to your knowledge?
Check the form, foundation.
I would argue that the personnel transaction involved Dr. Kuether was.
Okay, and but based on your experience, both as the director and previous, do you believe that this reassignment was retaliatory?
I do believe this reassignment was retaliatory.
Okay. Well, and sorry, what my broader question is does this fit into what you understand as the broader pattern of retaliation at MPS?
Oh, I'm gonna check the foundation form.
I believe these type of reassignments can be a form of retaliation.
Okay. So when I asked Mr. Furman why did he believe that the involuntary reassignment would not hurt Dr. Kuether's career, he answered that it was still a high-level school-based position. I mean, there's no negative connotation to school-based administrator positions versus centrally based administrator positions. Do you understand that statement?
I understand the statement.
Okay. Do you believe that that's an accurate statement?
I would disagree with the statement.
Why would you disagree with that statement?
I don't.
I'm gonna check the foundation.
What did he say? It was a high standing.
He says it was still a high-level school-based position. Is that part accurate?
I would disagree with it.
Check the foundation.
Okay, and that's partially because there was no position, correct?
Check the foundation. Also argumentative. That's assumes facts, not evidence.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to evaluate the standing or level of that position when I could not discern what the position was.
Okay. And then there's a statement that says there's no negative connotation to the school-based administrator position versus centrally based administrator positions. Is that an accurate statement based on your understanding?
Check the foundation. Cause of speculation.
I would disagree with that statement.
Why?
I don't think the organization observes those types of transactions in that way.
Okay, and as the deputy superintendent, Calvin Furman would be aware of that, correct?
Check the foundation.
And
Cause of speculation.
I would have presumed him to be aware of that.
Okay. Then you also added another qualification that this there is a negative connotation to an MPS employee moving from the central services to a school. Is that also accurate?
Yes, I believe that I believe that is the case.
Okay. And is it true that even though someone's rate of pay might stay the same, the fact that they've been moved from central services to a school assignment, is that considered a demotion?
Check the foundation.
Even though from a pay perspective, I believe staff perceive that to be a demotion.
Okay, and so that would also be the person's co-workers would perceive that as a demotion, is that right?
Check the call for speculation.
I can say the statement. Can you repeat
And
it?
so that would also be the person's coworkers would perceive that as a demotion, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the person's supervisors would also perceive that as a demotion based on your understanding, correct?
Same objection causes speculation.
Yes.
Okay. And you have personal knowledge of these kind of perceptions? Or how do you form that conclusion?
Yes, by my experience in the organization.
Okay. Now, are you aware of whether or not a license is required to work at a high school?
Objection, form, vague.
Yeah, I'm gonna join that objection. In what capacity?
Can I ask in what capacity?
Well, I guess let me ask that. Well, can you repeat the question? Thank you.
Now, are you aware of whether or not a license is required to work at a high school?
Same objection.
It would depend on the position, is my understanding.
Okay. And based on your investigation of Dr. Kuether's complaint, do you have any knowledge of whether or not she was licensed to work at a high school after she was involuntarily transferred?
In the absence of any clarity on what the position was, I wouldn't be able to speculate as to what licensure would be required.
Okay. And, okay. And were you even able to determine what Dr. Kuether's job duties were at Washington High School?
If that information became available, I believe it was only shared, I believe, after I had brought this to the attention of the board, is my recollection.
Okay. So, between January, I guess in the month of January, while you're investigating this, did you speak to any management about, in the course of this investigation, other than Calvin Furman or Dr. Cotton?
Therese Freiberg.
Therese Freiberg, okay. And that was to achieve clarity on what Dr. Kuether's job roles, or for some other reason?
I had approached Ms. Freiberg to gain an understanding of what this personnel transaction was.
Okay. And you were not successful in that endeavor, correct?
I did not gain further clarity.
Okay. Do you recall discussing Dr. Kuether's licensure issues with her after she was involuntarily transferred?
I recall that she shared with me that during the meeting in which she was told she was being placed on special assignment, that she raised a question to the individuals in that meeting that, well, the perception was that it was going to be in some administrative level, and I believe that Dr. Kuether shared, I don't have a license in that type of a position, I believe is what was shared with me.
Okay. Did Dr. Kuether last very long at her special assignment at Washington High School, to your knowledge?
Object, form, question, vague.
My recollection is that she ended up taking a leave sometime subsequent to that move.
Okay. And how did you learn of that?
I believe she shared that with me.
Okay. Did she tell you at the time, or was that afterwards?
I don't recall if it was at the time or after.
Okay, but you guys were meeting every day at that time, correct?
I was frequently checking in with Dr. Kuether.
And
correct.
working on this issue full time?
Up until, certainly until the 21st of January, yes.
Okay. Now, during those conversations that you had with Dr. Kuether, do you recall if what her emotional level was?
Distressed.
Okay, and those are through all those conversations?
Can you say that again?
Sure. Was she distressed throughout the entirety of her conversations with you?
Yes.
Okay. What was she distressed about?
That this was a retaliatory act, and that the avenues that she had pursued were not remedying the action. And additionally, that the conduct of the staff there at Washington was not receptive to her.
Okay. How did that make you feel at that time?
Not good.
Why not?
Subsequent to the 21st, because I wholly expected my involvement to offer a remedy. Prior to that, just an empathy to an individual in a tough spot.
Okay. After the 21st, how did you feel about your investigation of Dr. Kuether?
Yeah, that whatever action I had taken had not remedied it.
Okay. Did you believe, after the 21st, did you believe that your position as a whistleblower investigator was tenable?
I questioned it.
Okay. Did you communicate that questions with anybody?
I know that I did, but I couldn't recall who.
Okay, but did you communicate that to the board directly?
Not after the 21st, but in the session where I had said if both what I perceived to be a form of retaliation through this type of movement and also the two lanes of combat that I mentioned earlier, if that's going to be allowed to persist, then the whistleblower policy, you can, to use the expression, shovel it.
Okay. And then you continued, though, after that date to investigate whistleblower complaints, right?
Yes.
Why?
I still had the policy obligation to do so.
Okay, but you knew that the outcome of your investigation wasn't related to the outcome of what the board action, correct?
I'm going to object the form. Misstated prior testimony is argumentative.
Sure. The results of your report didn't apparently affect the board's decision, did it?
Objective vague as to this one incident.
Can you say that one more time?
Sure. The effect of your report on Dr. Kuether to the board did not affect the board's conduct, did it?
It did not improve the circumstance for Dr. Kuether.
Okay. Did it improve the circumstances for whistleblowers more broadly?
I would argue it did not.
Okay. And were your reporting of Mr. Holliday's complaints Mr. Furman's complaints to the board, did that change your opinion on the whistleblower policy?
Did Mr. Furman's whistleblower complaint to me that I brought to the board's attention for the purposes of an external investigator?
Correct.
And that outcome, can you repeat the other half?
Did that change your opinion of the whistleblower policy?
Yes.
Okay. After the 21st, did you investigate whistleblower complaints in a different manner?
There was some process improvement that was done.
What does that mean?
Just an attempt to standardize the process, and also a change in practice in that, absent the direct involvement of an executive officer on a matter, that the matter would be brought to the executive officer over the area in which the concern was raised to allow them to remedy the problem.
So the change is that you were bypassed the board now and went straight to management? Is that a fair description?
It wasn't to bypass the board as it was to allow the management over the area in which the concern was raised, and their non-involvement in the concern allow them the opportunity to cure the problem.
Okay. Doesn't that increase the risk of whistleblower retaliation?
Object to a form of question called speculation.
I don't know that it does. I don't know that it does.
Okay, so taking Dr. Kuether's situation for an example, how would, if she had reported this after the 21st, how would you have investigated her complaint differently?
Given the involvement of Dr. Posley, I wouldn't have done it any differently. I would have brought it to the board.